Hi all, Bones here from BSA Bantams again, and what we have here is obviously not a crank out of a Bantam. This is my 1200 Harley Sportster 1996 XL 1200S, and we have a major problem. So it's actually dropped the bottom end. I haven't obviously pressed the crank apart, but I think it's lost hard facing off the kingpin. So I live in a pretty remote rural locality. There's no Harley Davidson dealerships around here. So talking to the guy at the local bike shop, we've devised a plan, and we'll split this crank, get all the necessary bits, and I'll put it all back together. Obviously, as you can see, if I'm down this far, I've got the whole lot pulled apart. So I'll just show you the rest of it. So over there on the shelf is my Harley Davidson engine completely disemboweled. So in order to get this pressed apart, I have to make up some specialist tools. My press doesn't have the capability, I don't think, at 12 tonne to be able to press this apart. So the local bike shop's got a full-size industrial press. However, we've got to make some jigs and fixtures and things in order to be able to press it apart. So I'm actually doing that at the moment. So I'll take you over the lathe and show you what I'm up to. Righto, so as you can see here is a rather large lump of pipe. So the whole idea of this will be that a plate will fit on here. I've got a piece of 5/8 plate there, and that will slide in between the flywheel halves, sit on this. This is round enough so the flywheel can drop out once we press the kingpin apart. But it's a pretty rough sort of hacked out piece of pipe, so I've just marked a couple of lines. I'll go through and I'll cut it off round, so I can just take a skim off the edge and square this all up. As you can see, I'm right at the threshold of my capability of the chuck on my vise. I've actually got reverse jaws in, and I'm gripping it on the inside. I've tapped it true, and I've just marked my line, so I'll get through with the angle grinder, and I'll actually cut these out nice and square so I can face them off. I do have to take a skim out of the inside, but not much, you know, a mil or two, so I'll be able to do that as well. So we'll get into it. Okay, so I've chopped the ends off, and I've given the surface a buff up with a cut wheel on the grinder, just to knock all the scale and rust off it. And now we'll set it up in a lathe, and I will face it off. So we're just taking the final facing cut across the face of the pipe. As you can see, it's been a very ginger sort of job. There's a lot of overhang, unsupported, hanging out there, and as you can see, I'm actually gripping it internally on the outside of my reverse jaws. But it's gone pretty well. We had to take about 3 millimeters off the face to get it all nice and square again. But it's going good. I will be, after this cut finishes, I'll be throwing a chamfer on the outside diameter, and then it's time to start boring. My apologies for holding it. It's the only way I can get in here. I'll get the camera in here anyway. So yeah, it's going pretty well. Very slow feed rate, slowest speed I've got on my lathe, which is about 60 RPM, and I probably wish I had some backing gears, but it's going good. Alright, I've finished machining the pipe, and so what I have to do now is measure the width through here, because I have to do a cutaway in here to allow the bottom flywheel to drop down and give the conrods some clearance. So I'll do a measurement across here. I don't want to go like that because it'll be too wide, and you're cutting out a big section of support out of your pipe. So we come across here, the gap will be a bit narrower, and it'll be fully supported. Okay, so I'm going to cut this section out here in order to get a couple of radiuses in either corner. I'm going to drill a 25mm hole, so now I'm just drilling the pilot hole for the larger size drill, and we'll put a 25mm drill through it. That's done. Alright, so I've got it. I drilled the 2 big holes, obviously cut it and blended it, and this is what we want. So once this drops down in here, it's got clearance for the con rods. So obviously a plate will sit on top of that, on top of this lip, and then we'll be able to press on that. So you'll be able to align your con rods and have clearance there. So that's worked out really well. I actually thought I was going to have to bore the pipe out, because when I went to pick it up from the steel place originally, it was slightly smaller, but they've given me this piece, so I don't need to touch it. And that leaves me with full wall thickness and probably 4mm of clearance. It's bloody made for it. Nice heavy wall on it too. Really good. Happy with that. So now it's time to make the plate up, and we'll get into that. Alright, so this will be the plate that fits in between the 2 flywheels, and I'll have to bore out a hole to accept the bottom end of the con rod and a V out, so the con rod forks can go out, so we can obviously press the kingpin out. So got it marked out. Now it's time to get the oxy out and cut this out, and we'll dress it up. So my messy workbench, we've got the plate cut out, so I'm just initially marking out to be able to bore a hole in here where the bottom end of your con rods will actually sit. So this plate will slide in between the 2 flywheel halves, and it'll have a hole in here and be V'd out like that to allow for the display of the two con rods. So obviously that hole's pretty big, it's around 3 inches. So I'll drill a hole, I'll mark it out, drill a hole, and I'll set it up in the mill machine and start boring it out. And then once I've got it bored out to the right time, I'm going to angle grinder, and I'll just cut it out. So first things first, to mark it out. God, the old brush is a bit. Shit, that's a bit thick, but anyway. Probably need some metho in that to thin it out, but anyway, that's pretty thick. Righty-go. So clearance off the back is 1/2 inch. And what we've also got, so I'll mark up, what was it, 72, so that's 36mm to there. So that's the hole centre. That's going to be the hole centre for our radius, our con rod bore. So that's the whole size I've got to bore out, plus cut out this bit here. I'll work out the angle in a minute, but effectively that's what it is. So I've got my run out marked out, and I'm just going around and doing what they call witness marking. So the reason for that is if all my marking out blue wears off, I've still got an impression of what I've got to cut out and where. So I'll just keep going all the way around there. So once I start handling it and the lines sort of rub out a bit because of the blue, I'll have all these there. It's an old tool making trick. Alright, so what we're going in now is the pilot hole. 916 drill going through now. So 1-inch drill bit going through now. Thank you, Hornberger. Alright, so boring head in, and we'll start all the boring process. So this is it. We're now at the size, and this is the final cut. That's it. So we are out to diameter now. I'll take it out of the setup and just cut this section out with the angle grinder. So job's finally finished, and here's how it all works. It's, all this weight is bloody heavy. So this slides in between your two flywheels. And the whole lot fits over there like that. We'll be able to put a hydraulic press on there, and the bottom flywheel, once the pin's pressed out, will be able to drop down. So put a piece of rubber down underneath here, so when the flywheel shaft drops out, these conrods don't actually hit there, they sit up around here. So it's worked pretty well, a bit of work, and you know, it's going all right. So a couple of other things I've made today are the valve guide seals are actually steel cased. So in order to drive them on, I've made a special drift. So you could just tap them on. So the drifts obviously got clearance for the top rubber lip. So they just fit in there, and you'd be able to tap them on. So I had to make one of those. The next thing is, I was about to try and slide that out of the way, but there's about 20 kilos worth of weight there. This is your final drive bearing. On my bike it's shot, so we're going to replace it. So in order to you actually drop the bearing into your engine case, final drive goes in through the other side, and you need a puller to actually pull the gear through. So there'll be a bolt come up through here, and we just tighten the bolt up, and that'll just pull that gear up through the bearing, and all will be well. So I whipped that up today as well. So I've just got to make a little backing plate tomorrow to go on there. So 12mm bolt, and we'll pull it all up through there when the time comes. So we're making progress. It's good. I must admit, it's been my initial trade being a fitter and machinist. So I still love doing it. So I still love getting on the lathe and everything like that. So it's been a great day. If you haven't seen any of my other videos and that I've done, just go onto YouTube, have a look at my playlists on either Tony Farmer or BSA Bantams, and you'll see all the rest of the stuff I've done. For this bike, there's a few more pullers and things I have to do for the bearings on the other side, which I'll get onto tomorrow. I won't do a video of them, we'll just go and get them done. And hopefully, it's going to be a week or two now, because before I can split the crank. because the mate from the bike shop's gone away on holidays, and get some parts ordered, and we'll be able to get back onto the Harley. In the meantime, it'll be back onto the Jawa and get some stuff done on that. And if you've been following my Jawa videos, there should be some coming out reasonably soon. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's a great help. Righto, see you later.